Anyway, I'm going to stop playing that because I can't get enough of that.
RobRyanRed.
Croeso, hello, welcome to RobRyanRed, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association with Red 10 People Development. On today's show, we'll look back at our win over Barnsley, find out why Danny DeVito was high-fiving fans at the end, and look ahead to Burton Albion this weekend. All that and more on today's show. So now, if we're recording on the Wednesday morning after the night before Wrexham's 1-0 win over Barnsley. I mean, surprise, surprise, Wrexham win at home again. I think, though, to be fair, going into this run of 3 matches, Exeter, Lincoln and Barnsley, not many of us predicted 3 wins. Looked like 3 really tough matches on paper, but they've just proven why Wrexham can be dreaming of back-to-back-to-back.
Yeah, just clean sheet our way to promotion. Why not? We'll take those 1-0, those gritty 1-0 wins. And, you know, we said a few weeks ago, didn't we, about that feeling where you get robbed at the death at Charlton. And Barnsley dominated, I felt like, the ball last night, but they were much like Huddersfield, much like Lincoln, pretty toothless in attack, in truth. Stephen Humphreys looked quite bright. Obviously, we were linked with him in the summer. But really, I mean, Mark Howard makes one really brilliant save that was in front of me when I was in the temporary cop, a fairly empty temporary cop, actually, I thought last night, even with those cheap tickets. But Howard makes a wonder save, and Burton, before he goes off, I think makes 1 or 2 saves. But really, they didn't do a lot with a lot of the ball. And when that space opened up for Ollie Rathbone and everyone's crying, shoot, have a go, and he just pings it on his weak foot as well, just beautiful stuff, man.
Sweet. I mean, I wasn't there because I was on my work's Christmas do, very hungover. So I'm probably looking more pale than usual on this podcast if you're watching on YouTube. I could actually do one of those, what was it, picklebacks? Is that what we had in Vancouver? The worst drink I've ever had in my life.
What was
I swear
that?
I swear they were meant to be a hot dog. Was it like hot dog juice or some shit? Like who knows what it was? But
it was bad.
It was supposed to be
bad.
some hangover cure, and it did not. It made me feel even worse. I think it was picklebacks or something. I can't quite remember. But I wasn't there. And to be honest, I probably would have left early to beat the traffic. I would, if I'd been there. 0-0, 90th minute. Yeah, probably would have gone. And I would have heard this roar while I was in the sort of university car park, which would have been crushing. But the fact that we do it, mate. What is so crazy for me is Wrexham gets so much hate because there's so much coverage. And okay, that's annoying. But we write the scripts ourselves. Yes, you've got all this Hollywood cast, and you've got all the stuff happening off the pitch. You've got Danny DeVito, the star this week, and of course that's just normal now. Danny DeVito celebrating a Wrexham win. You're like, oh yeah, of course it did. But we're the reason this story's so compelling. The amount of times that the drama's been on the pitch, and this week it's Ollie Rathbone winning against Barnsley. Like, as much of the story gets pushed on the celebrity aspect of it, the actual football has been incredible, and this team spirit and this togetherness and this just will to win and this battling to the end. In years gone by, Wrexham teams didn't do this, and it's just this fight and this belief. And every time it happens, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And honestly, mate, it's getting to the point now where you think, when are we ever going to lose at home? Like, when's it going to happen? In the Championship? I know this will get clipped lovely when we're getting beaten by Shrewsbury in January. But
yeah, when we're losing,
you would back us against every team.
Yeah,
you back us against every team.
I just think on nights like last night where a few players are not at their best, and it's freezing cold, and you know, kind of it's not full, and all the hallmarks. Barnsley have supposedly played. They played 120 minutes in the FA Cup. They're supposedly going to be tired, and they're knocking it around. They're kind of controlling the game. They had a good away support, I thought, and you grind out the wins. And we sort of said it last week, and it was people were agreeing on YouTube in the comments, and people that listened on Spotify were saying that you're right. These are the games you just got to keep grinding them out, especially when even Saturday. We'll look ahead to Burton in a bit, but They're just games you need to grind out. They don't need to be flashy. I think everyone thinks because you've got Hollywood attached to your name, it needs to have some razzmatazz to it. It absolutely does not. League One is a meat grinder of a league, and I was just going to put into context that as good as it's been, or what a moment for Ollie Rathbone and James McLean getting the cross for the own goal against Lincoln. It should be pointed out that Wrexham haven't conceded a goal at home in 513 minutes of football, if you include additional time in that. And you think, well, it's Cambridge up next. You don't want to take anything for granted, but I mean, Max early on made a fabulous slide tackle. Brunt got man of the match. I think probably it was the man next to him that I would have given it to, Owen O'Connell. I thought Owen O'Connell had one of his best games in a long time for Wrexham against Barnsley. I thought it was colossus, really.
Lewis was robbed last week, though, wasn't he? He should have had it in the win over Lincoln.
But also, Rich, quickly, I was just going to say that, we always want to put it into context, put it into perspective. And Wrexham have played everyone inside the top 14. I think Wrexham played all the other 13 teams in that top 14. And they've still got 2 of the bottom 4 to play. And then Burton and Cambridge, they're the next 2. They're both in the bottom 4. We're second in League One. Okay, you point to say we're probably in net. People were saying that last night. We're in net third because Birmingham have got 3 games in hand and are about 4 points behind us. But, we've beaten Barnsley. We've beaten Wycombe. We've beaten... Who else have we beaten? Reading. They're right up there.
Reading are 6th now. Fair
at the beginning of the season, I said Ruben Sellers to one to keep an eye on, and I got shot down.
Yeah, so and then we thrashed them. People were saying, I think, was it Joe Edwards who said that to us? He said, stop mentioning Ruben Sellers on the podcast. Shout out to Joe. But yeah, now they're 6th. It looks like a good... And Bolton, I know we said that then didn't look like a point gained, but they're 7th. That's quite decent. And if you look at, like you said there, the top 12 then, we've still got to play Birmingham at home, Stockport at home, Bolton at home, and Charlton. So that's only 4. So 4 of the top 12 got to play at home still, which wasn't as... I was reading that stat, I was like, there should be more, surely there's not. I guess the flip side though, Nath, is Cambridge at home I'm not too worried about. I don't want to get on that. We'll do that next week. But Burton, which again we'll get onto at the end of the pod, they're the type of games maybe where I still feel we've got that point to prove of breaking down these teams where there's the onus on us to attack. Do you think that part of the reason we're so good at home is because, like you said, we've played in so many of these games now where we just don't really have the ball, and that's our strength. We're so good out of possession, and we're so good with our shape. Whereas when we've got the onus to attack, that's when your defenders maybe push up a bit more. That's when the spaces open our own back as well. Like, do you think that we are just well catered to play in the bigger teams? And
I just wonder whether at this point it's just a mental block away from home. I sort of think that it's a club where I'm sure they are aware of what is being said and written, and look, we don't need to name names, but players we've spoken about in the past have very much checked us privately about some of the things we've said, which is absolutely fine. No issue with that. But they're very much acutely aware of things that have been said, and they will know that the fan base think they are a soft touch away from home. That's inevitable. And so I just
we'll have to save that for a live show, won't we? You can dish the dirt.
Yeah, that's definitely not being aired on here. But it does make you think that at home, I just think they go into the game, they believe they're going to win. So even against Barnsley, it's like, okay, Dobson I thought was off his normal best. His touch was evading him. Credit to Barnsley, they shackled Barney, and they did what I think we said a few weeks ago, that surely the formula to beating Wrexham is to make James McLean beat you on that left side, because Barney is such a threat. They shackled him. Back three again was really, really good. Max, O'Connell and Brunt were great. You've ended up with the goalkeeper going off, which didn't seem to have too much disruption. Like I said, Howard sees out the clean sheet. Rathbone grew into the game, definitely. Was a little bit sort of chasing shadows at the beginning, but soon settled into it. And McLean was good again. And then up front, Palmer and Lee, they've had better games. But they just have that feeling, I think, that they know they're going to win, or that they're not going to lose. Where I think away from home, it's sort of the opposite, maybe a little bit of self-doubt. And so games like Burton, you'll say, well, you should beat Burton. They're bottom of the table. They're rubbish. The worst team in the EFL. Yeah, but you've still got to go there and win. And everyone gets up for playing Wrexham, and everyone gets up for playing Birmingham, as they found out at Shrewsbury. So I think if we can sustain a home form that doesn't have to be flawless like it is right now. What are we on? 28 points out of a possible 30 so
Yeah,
far.
it's crazy.
That's incredible. But even if it's just a notch below that, you only need that away form to tick up a little bit.
Mm.
And suddenly you're still going to be on 2 points a game, and that's the recipe for success. So the home form as it is, I think the away form, only needs to improve slightly, maybe to go middling to have us right up there.
Yeah, so like you said there, Wrexham in terms of the home form in League One this season by a mile, the best team, 28 points from a possible 30. Reading and Huddersfield a joint second on that. They've got 21 points. They played different number of games. So away form, where do you think Wrexham are in the table away form this season?
I bet it's not as bad as I think it is. I probably want to say like 12th or something. But
13th.
Oh.
9 points away from home so far this season. Only scored 6 goals away from home and conceded 7 as well. So
I think if you can
we've
get
conceded
that into the top 10, there you get that top 8, something like that.
Yeah,
that's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be second.
I mean, there's kind of like 3 anomalies in the away form anyway. That Wickham have 21 points away from home this season. They are just a beast. Birmingham and Barnsley have both taken 16 points away from home. But like you said, if Wrexham can get up to Stockport, Bolton, Lincoln, Mansfield, they're all on like 13 or 12 points away from home. So like an extra win, which, as you said, in the weeks that should come anyway. And if Wrexham get to the sort of top 8 away form and stay as we are at home, then it should really be a recipe for being very close to the top of the table by the end of the campaign anyway. We do want to, though, mention the goalkeeper. You said there, Mark Howard deserves some credit for coming in, making a big save. A save that was edited out of the Wrexham YouTube highlights, which seemed to imply... I mean, I spoke to you, we have our WhatsApp chat, and I was getting updates from the game. I asked for your post-match verdicts, and you said, look, it was another game where the fine margins went in our favour. We could easily have dropped points against Lincoln, could easily have dropped points against Barnsley as well. The Wrexham YouTube highlights made it look like we dominated them from start to finish. There was not a sniff of Barnsley action, so I'm not actually sure it happened. I think you could be lying.
So incredibly harsh on Mark Howard, because he didn't actually have tons to do in terms of saves, so to speak. I mean, Barnsley did what Lincoln did, where you sort of dominate until he gets to the final pass, and then they just cock it up by picking the wrong pass or running for a near post. But guy beats the back three, for substitute comes on, got a bit of pace, beats the back three and flashes it near post. Now you'd say, well, Howard should save that, but it's one of them where you're sort of going for the top corner at the near post, which sometimes can just fly past a goalkeeper before they even have a chance to react. It's a really good save for a goalkeeper that hasn't played a lot, and I think a lot of us saw him as a sort of glorified coach at this point. Third choice goalkeepers are never, it's a thankless task really. You're never going to get on the bench more often than not, and you're not going to get in the team. But credit to Howard, he was ready to go. He came in, not easy. I know people think, oh, it's just goalkeeper, you've got a great defense in front of you. It's still not easy. And the only thing, I think he looked a little bit nervous. He didn't want to sort of, I don't know, he sort of didn't want to boot it long, which was a weird thing. He kind of was rolling it out to a defender to then boot it long. So we'll see how he looks. Distribution was taking a little bit of time, but that's understandable given he's been out. But a few people around me were talking about, oh, will we now need an emergency loan? Because it looks like it'll be Howard in goal at Burton almost certainly, and then Liam Hall on the bench. The answer to that is no, you can't make an emergency loan, and I'll explain why in the rule book now.
So Wrexham could sign a free agent goalkeeper, but not an emergency loan goalkeeper.
Yes, a free agent goalkeeper, fine if they've been a free agent before the transfer window closed. They don't count against your squad cap, your 22. So I don't know. I saw some people saying...
There's a guy called Ben Foster, isn't there?
Yeah. Ben Foster, get the band back together, dearie me. But there are things such thing as an emergency loan where you get a goalkeeper in for 7 days. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that Burton was out for a week and a half, and you just needed to get somebody...
Shall I read Parky's quotes on Burton from post-match?
Yes, you do that.
Okay, so after the game, speaking to a number of outlets, we've taken ours from the reader today. The leader. Phil Parkinson said, we'll have to have a look at Callum over the next 24 hours. Obviously, he is not going to be fit for the weekend. There's no chance of that. so we won't see Burton at Burton. It looks like a thigh strain, so we'll go straight for a scan. We won't know more till the results of that. Arthur is still a couple of weeks away, so we'll just sleep on it, see the extent of the injury, and make a decision going into the weekend. So if Okonkwo is only a couple of weeks away anyway, and you've got, again, without being too cocky, 2 kind of favourable games coming up, maybe you can get through it till then. Do you want to go on to the rules again? Because I've got a list here of free agent goalkeepers, which I can't wait to read out.
Right. So before we get onto those, but the idea of a emergency loan, if you say you just we literally got nobody left, we need somebody to tide us over for a short period of time, you don't need to give them a full-time contract. Emergency loan rules for goalkeepers only come into force if all the professional goalkeepers at a club are unavailable, either due to being unfit to play, suspension, or international duty. Now, the term professional goalkeeper is quite important. A professional goalkeeper is classed as a player who has been named in the starting 11 on 5 or more occasions for a Premier League or EFL club in any competition that excludes the Virtu Trophy. So excludes the Bristol Street Motors, Papa John's, whatever you want to call it. So FA Cup, Carabao Cup, League, any of those. So Liam Hall would not class. Liam Hall is Wrexham's 4th choice goalkeeper. He would not class as a professional goalkeeper. And so Wrexham can only make that 7-day emergency loan if anything happened to Mark Howard, which, knock on wood, doesn't. Because I still think, Rich, before you get onto the free agents, I still think a more realistic target for Okonkwo is that Boxing Day fixture at home.
Yeah.
I think you've got what now coming up? You have Burton Albion in the league away. You've got Crewe in the last 32 of the Virtu Trophy. You've got Cambridge at home. You've then got Bristol Rovers away, and then you're at Boxing Day. Now, that Virtu Trophy game would have been a rare chance for Howard. That would have been Howard's chance. Now, is that when you give Liam Hall a run out? Because you can't really risk Howard getting injured. I'd have to say you'd play Liam Hall in there anyway. That's one debate. But I think Liam Hall should be making an appearance there because he's been chomping at the bit with the youth team. That's your chance. Can't risk Howard getting injured. So if they did want to make a free agent move, though, give me some ridiculous names now that Wrexham could go and get.
Keylor Navas, you a fan of him?
Keylor Navas.
He's no
Arthur Okonkwo or Callum Burton. He's no Callum Burton. Yeah. He'll do.
So Costa Rican World Cup hero. I remember him vividly at the Brazil World Cup in 2014. He was one of the stand-up performers there. He is currently a free agent. Real Madrid, PSG, Nottingham Forest, Wrexham. Does that work for you? Another one who I'm not sure if he will fill fans with much more confidence than Mark Howard. Loris Karius. Famously,
I'll take Howard, please.
Yeah, obviously very famous for his performance in the Champions League final.
Yeah, against Gareth Bale.
And speaking of Welshman, compatriot, Wayne Hennessy. Be careful with him at your Christmas party. But he was waving. He insisted he was waving.
Look that up if you don't. Look at Wayne Hennessy Christmas party if you don't know that.
Yeah. It's if you heard that phrase, you're probably thinking something quite. I mean, it is still, but it's probably not down the path you think it is. That's very
It's not
bizarre.
a path we're going to go down today, for sure.
No. Again, so for the live show. And in terms of, I mean, you're really getting to people I've never heard of after that. I do know, I think Jamal Blackman was another who's a free agent.
Yeah.
Was he
Cardiff maybe or something like that? Reading?
Yeah, I think he started off Chelsea youth career from what I remember. He might have played at Reading. But yeah, I mean, we've basically said there that
just funny, isn't it, Rich?
It's
just funny how you have that big stable of goalkeepers who, more often than not, you just will never need to turn to the number 2 or number 3, and definitely not the number 4. And you've just had a really unfortunate situation where Okonkwo makes that save against Mansfield and lands awkwardly on his wrist and plays on, sees out the game because he's a warrior, broken wrist. Burton makes a kick. He's not under challenge. I thought it was under challenge. I was down the other end. It was right in front of the tech end. Just his thigh goes, it looks like, and he's walking off, sort of clutching his groin, clutching his thigh. Looks in real discomfort. No surprise that he's immediately ruled out of the Burton game. I mean, that's not going to heal up in the next couple of days. So you're down to Howard. And in the next few days, I think you have to be quite careful now with Howard until you get at least one of those other 2 back. So up the Liam Hall Virtue Trophy Reds, I think, on Tuesday night against Crewe.
In terms of other notable talking points as well, we'll get onto Burton when we talk about the suspensions. We want to talk about Mullin at some point, talk about the striker situation. Should we do that now and then get onto Cosm? Because that sounds like a lot of fun. You've been putting lots of clips on that on our socials. But the striker situation, you said one of Mullin's better performances of the season. I know the bar's not very high in that regard, but he played decently, and then Bodvarsson wasn't involved, so suggests that his time is coming to an end unless he scores 6 against Crewe on Tuesday night, maybe.
Yeah, 4 strikers, all interesting topics. Mullin, Fletcher, Bodvarsson and Farl.
Which one are we sponsoring?
No comment on that for now. No, we're still sticking by our guy, Mo Farl. We'll get on to him very, very shortly. But Paul Mullin, I think probably the best he's looked coming off the bench, because he's come on where maybe he looks a little bit, dare I say, leggy in certain games. Just doesn't seem to be moving the same. This was a lot brighter. I think he spun his man on the halfway line. I thought the Barnsley defender was very, very lucky. It looked like Mullin would have just been through. I'm sure the referee was saying that there'd have been a covering man, but very, very lucky there. Mullin had that kind of quick burst that, he was so familiar with in the National League and League Two. It was a really good cameo, and it was him and Fletcher up there, interestingly. And I think those two have obviously had a lot of time together, no doubt, in training. They played together before. So it was interesting to see Parky completely change and put 2 fresh strikers on in Fletcher and Mullin. I think with Mullin, it's a lot of it is everyone's saying the same thing. We just want him to get that goal, just want him to get that goal, just want him to get the wheel turning. But really, it was just his out of possession work last night that I thought showed to me that he's very close now to where he needs to be. And if he was to start at the weekend, I think he's in a position to do that now. Whereas I think after Lincoln, I wasn't necessarily sure. I wasn't shocked per se that he didn't start against Barnsley, because I think to this point we've seen very few flashes. Whereas I think last night was a reminder to everyone and to Parky that, yeah, I'm still the same guy. I'm ready. I'm quick. And he offered a different challenge than Palmer did and that Lee did. He was harrying the defenders and put doubt in their mind.
But again, that's what you need. You need that different type of striker that we don't have that profile because Marriott's injured. So that's why I find it ridiculous that some people have written Mullin off to a degree, because he's always going to have, even if he's not scoring goals, I know that is fundamentally what he's on the pitch to do. But his energy and his work rate and the way that he sort of harasses defenders, that is invaluable at times, particularly in these games where they are so close and tight anyway, that as long as we're getting a goal, it doesn't really matter who's scoring it, because there tends to only be 1 goal a game anyway. I know a striker's going to be more likely to put the ball in the back of the net, but we're getting goals from all across the pitch, so it's not a case of we have to score 3 or 4 every week. If we're scoring 1, that's more than we're conceding.
Well, Rich, I was thinking there's that old adage of, if you ask a striker, like, how many goals do you want to score? And they always say, well, I don't care. I just want us to win the game. Doesn't matter. I just want if we go up and I don't score any goals, that's my favorite one. If we go up and I don't score any goals, I'm buzzing. I don't care. I'm chuffed. And strikers, they do care about the goals they score. But I think right now, we're struggling in that area for sure, and we're going to get onto the other players that are struggling to contribute in that area. But hey, we're second in the table with a goal-scoring centre-back in Max Cleworth, and we're getting goals from midfield now, and we're winning games. And a 1-0 is just as valuable as that 3-0 against Exeter. So, while we're trying to find our feet, so to speak, in attack, long may it continue, but it always does make me laugh when strikers say, yeah, I don't care. Doesn't matter. If I get 1 goal and we go up, I get 0 goals, doesn't matter. As if they're not, like, frantically worrying about getting the pressure off them. And, yeah.
In terms of the others there, I mean, Fletcher, I think we were surprised last week, weren't we? We would have been surprised saying he'd be involved against Barnsley, because we were sort of saying rip up his contracts. Like, not to that degree, maybe, but
shows that we know.
just couldn't really see a role from the team. It was either him or Bodvarsson. It made more sense maybe to give Bodvarsson a go because he's only here till January. But now it feels like Fletcher's in the ascendancy again. But 2 games a week isn't really possible for him, is it? So.
No, I thought Fletcher, I think what went under the radar a little bit was I think when you watch Rathbone's goal back, Fletcher does make quite a key run to open up a bit more space for Rathbone. So Fletcher makes a run that seems to just get some attention because you've got to respect Fletcher. He's a great finisher and the ball probably could have just been played to him. So he opens up a little bit more space and that's when the kind of the grey sea, I was going to say the Red Sea, but we were in red, they were in grey. It kind of opens and
Great
then it goes
analogy, that.
Terrible, really, but it's early in the morning and it's not even that early. So it opens up, but Fletcher does make such a key run. I do think he is probably just a good fit because I think he understands the role that he's got now, which is like once a week, give us 15, 20 minutes. I think we've long gone past the point of expecting him to start games. This will be his last season. Let's just, call a spade. And so I think he is valuable. I think we just thought, with his injury problems and Bodvarsson seemingly being there and at least being fit, best availability, best ability is availability. And I don't know, he shut us up there because he came back, first game back on the bench, first game back in the team, picked ahead of Mo Farl, who was unused for a 3rd straight game at home. And just to put it into context, if you don't go to away games and you only watch Wrexham at home, then Mo Farl at home this season in the league has played 8 minutes of football, which came against Huddersfield. So if you left early, like Rich suggested he might have done against Barnsley, if you left that Huddersfield game early, you would probably not have seen Mo Farl at home this season in the league.
I guess, again, the quirk of it is that Mark Howard's now played more league minutes at home than Mo Farl has this season. And Mo Farl is the club record signing. Should definitely be playing against Crewe. Should be starting against Crewe, obviously, next Tuesday.
For sure.
It's got to be interesting to see how that one works out. I mean, I guess if we're going to try and offer some sort of light and positive on it, is we've said for weeks that Parky likes to slowly adapt players into his playing style. Rathbone's another now who, start of the season we said we don't know what he does. We don't know what his kind of role is. Now he's back-to-back games he scored in. He's got confidence.
Two and 3 now for him, so flying.
Oh yeah, the first one wasn't. Yeah, and he's now a guy who has to be starting every game on form and deserves to do so. And I thought, like I said, stop put away. He was really bright from the bench, and he has the right attitude and work rate. You can see exactly why he's a Parky player because he just seems to properly knuckle down, give us all on the pitch. Maybe Mo Farl can get there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, particularly January, and say we lose to Crewe next Tuesday. We talk about how good our home form is. Say we lose to Crewe next Tuesday, though. When will the chances? But when will the chances come for players at Farl? Because you've lost the cup competitions. Then we're not in the FA Cup, which we weren't going to talk about. But seeing that draw, there was like 8 or 9 belting ties.
Yeah,
Harrogate got Leeds away as well, which could have been us. Could have been that first.
Bromley going up to Newcastle, the game we should have had. I mean, we'd have had them at home, admittedly, but that year we lost on penalties to Brighton. I mean, Accrington Stanley.
Palace.
Accrington. Did you see Andy Holt? For a random segue here, but Andy Holt obviously got into the back and forth about Wrexham and raising the ticket prices, etc., etc. Andy Holt was celebrated getting Liverpool in the cup by announcing that he didn't have to pay for a hotel for his players to stay in. So he was happy because he didn't have additional costs of paying for a hotel. So there you go. Whatever floats your boat, Andy. Whatever floats your boat.
But just being from, I know we've got bigger fish to fry, and if we get promoted this season, who cares about a cup run for this year? But and again, this isn't meant to be a dig, but it is a dig at Sheffield United. The fact that we had 2 trips to the FA Cup 3rd round back-to-back years, and the most glamorous we got was Bramall Lane and Billy Sharp.
But Rich, on Farl,
Billy Sharp, who of course shushed the fans. Who were they playing?
Kettering Town.
Who shushed the Kettering Town fans after stick that in your documentary, Kettering Town.
I hope Billy Sharp eventually makes it into a James Acaster sketch one day on Kettering. But on Farl, I'll say that maybe for him, because when we've seen him interviewed, he does seem pretty happy-go-lucky. Seems a good lad and seems a really nice young lad. And I think maybe in the same sense of Revan, maybe this is the time to learn under a Fletcher. Like, what an invaluable experience that would be, learning under Stephen Fletcher. Learn under a Ollie Palmer, who's a grizzled vet of the EFL. That will be invaluable to him, because it was pointed out to me last night that, say Wrexham go and sign a striker, because we're saying Bodvarsson is done. I mean, we've seemingly said that every striker's done in the past few weeks.
Write them all off.
But Bodvarsson's done. Fletcher. So if we look at the stakes, it's on one side you've got Palmer, and I'll tell you in this order at the minute: Palmer, Fletcher, Farl, Bodvarsson on the right side, and on the left side you've got what, Mullin, Marriott.
I'd say Marriott Mullin still.
Sorry, Marriott
But
Mullin.
obviously, Marriott's injured.
Marriott's injured, yeah. But so fine, we'll say fully fit then. So Marriott, Mullin. So if you go and bring in a striker that we're going to say is on that left side, a quicker, pacier, goal-scoring type, I put a few names out of players in the Championship. I mean, it's probably unrealistic, but the lad at Leeds, young player, Joe Gelhard, I think would be such a fabulous signing. Or even if you get the lad from Stoke, is it Tersgale on loan from Stoke, really highly rated. But again, I think he's 19, been great in the Championship, would be unbelievable for us. You're going to probably get him on this side. So really, this side isn't going to change that much. Palmer's not going to go anywhere. He's just got a new contract. Fletcher's a good kind of 15, 20-minute specialist. If Bodvarsson goes, Farl's not suddenly going to move around.
Move up the pecking order,
I sort of think you can, as frustrating as it is for him, I feel like you don't necessarily need to move Farl. You can open up spots in the squad different ways. And I think giving Farl this education might be the best thing for him right now. And if not, firing us to Virtue Trophy glory in the meantime.
I mean, the other aspect before we move on to something else is the formation change, as well, isn't it? How long do you stick with that? Because I was going to say, look at the goalkeeper situation. It only takes a couple of injuries and you get your opportunity. And, especially with the festive period, it could quite easily happen that, Bodvarsson leaves, Fletcher has a knock or something, and Palmer gets injured, and then suddenly Farl is the guy. He becomes the guy on that side who has to play every game, who has to get those opportunities. So things can change quickly. But the formation switch as well has worked for us. We've ground out games. Like I said, I'm really interested to see if we adopt that in away matches now for the remainder of the season, really see if that gives us a bit more impetus and a bit more of a presence in some of those away matches. When do you change back to a proper two-man attack? I know we've had Lee up there and he's just not quite the same role. But when do you maybe go with Palmer and Mullin again?
Saturday? Maybe is that a bit crazy? I feel like that would be the game to, and I'm trying not to. We're going to get onto a Burton preview at the end, but trying not to disrespect Burton too much. But surely that is a chance to try. I mean, Stockport went there, won 3-0. Surely that is a chance to just try and get Mullin going. And what better way to do that than Mullin and Palmer? And I think especially with Dobson and McLean being suspended, maybe you drop Lee back in. You have Lee, James, and Rathbone as your midfield three, and then you have Mullin and Palmer in there. And I think that might be a bit more what we've been used to previously, but Mullin's got to ignite the fire at some stage. And I think against the rock bottom team in the division, arguably the worst team in the entire EFL, I think that's the best opportunity you've got. Right, Rich. So I was there. You were having a few too many. I don't know. Do you like tequila? Probably not.
But no, it was just a mixture of ale, which is never very good.
Mixture of ale's bad. That is bad.
Yeah, it's a cocktail of craftness in my tummy. It's not good. I feel
cocktail. You feel rough. Anyone watching can see that he's slightly paler than usual. He's normally golden brown, golden tan. But I was there. Some people were in LA, a certain Danny DeVito in the Always Sunny cast. But some people were also in the away end. And this, before we get onto the Cosm experience, this is too good not to read from a Barnsley fans forum. So
I shouldn't have watched the match highlights. I should have just read this.
You should have. I can't. I'll bleep out I won't even bleep. I'll just leave blanks. But we were absolutely dog bleep. Our management team must have known that. Our players must have known that. Sorry, let me start over. Wrexham were absolute dog blank. Our management team must have known that. Our players must have known that. Anyone with eyes knew that. Yet every time we won or they gifted us the ball, we looked to play the ball back. 1,300 of our supporters on a cold Tuesday night watch us play for a point against a side who are only up there, who are up there absolutely entirely because of a documentary. After missing a billion chances against the last 4 opponents, to change tactics because of a bleeping Disney program is not good enough. Clark and the players better sort this out. I'm expecting nothing this Saturday for genuine reason, at least because Birmingham spent £1 billion. But tonight was an insult to our supporters and to our club.
Great.
Beautiful stuff. So we're only up there. So basically, if we're only getting promoted because of the doc, can we commission the doc for at least 2 more seasons or 3 more, get us into the Champions League?
It's also fascinating. I mean, I just don't. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I just love that. You can almost say, I know it's not reflective of all football fans, because football fans who use social media are a certain type of football fan anyway, and particularly ones who have post-match rants. But if you asked maybe every fan of division who the worst football team are, most of them will say Wrexham. We're not very good, but every week we win matches and don't concede goals. And I know there is fine margins in these matches, and you could easily drop points in the last 2. But the fact is we didn't. And I absolutely love it. And that's when you know you've got a good, horrible, nasty win, when the rival fans can't come up with any succinct analysis of the match, very much like this podcast. And they just have to rattle off just abuse and just absolute nonsense. It's just inject it. I cannot get enough of it. And I also cannot get enough of Danny DeVito being a Wrexham fan now.
Yes. So I tell you what, before we so if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the video. I'm sure if you're just listening, you'll be able to hear the sound, but I'm sure we can talk you through it. But before me and Rich discuss COSM, and there was 2 screenings, COSM in Los Angeles, COSM in Dallas, let me show you a clip of a certain Danny DeVito, grey-haired Danny DeVito now, celebrating Ollie Rathbone scoring a last-minute winner for Wrexham. Not a sentence I thought I would say a few years ago. So here we go then. Let's see if I can show you Rich.
He's got 2 cans of Wrexham lager on the go there.
I'm going to play it. Can I play it again? He's got 2.
Do it.
He's got 2 cans of Wrexham lager. He's sat next to Dennis, Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny. I mean, what is not to love there? I mean, it just absolutely bonkers. Have I got another one here? I mean, look at this for the winning goal. Is this the winning goal? I mean,
but it's also like, how did they know to film then? Like, do you think they saw a score? Like, even for the camera to be the low camera behind the goal is a very odd choice, because if the shot doesn't go anywhere near goal, it gets blocked, you're not seeing anything.
Fair point. There's Rob McElhenney at the front. Rich, I looked class. I don't know. You're saying about the filming, there were some extra cameras dotted around, I think, and I was curious how they were kind of cut in between.
The director. It's really bold to have, when Wrexham were attacking in the last 3 minutes of the match, injury time, for them to use the camera, which is low behind the goal, seems like a huge risk, because absolutely nothing could happen. You don't know what you're sort of looking at, but it paid dividends there because that angle is incredible. It looks fun, and I think I'd quite like to go watch a team I don't support at a venue like that. Do you know what I mean? Or watching a World Cup or a European Championship, watching some
Surely those venues have got to be coming to London. Just like dot them all around the world. It's so popular for boxing, for UFC. Just the one. So it's a 180-degree screen. If anyone didn't see or isn't watching the video, it's a 180 wraparound screen. Which was being watched by Rob McElhenney, the Always Sunny cast, the Los Angeles Chargers NFL team. Some of them turned up in LA, and there are lots of other games coming up. I think Wrexham are on again. Wrexham Birmingham in January. I think that's on the COSM screen again. There's also a screening over in Dallas, which I know some friends who are based in Texas, they went to it. And the feedback that I got, Rich, was just that every city needs one of these. Like, they're just incredible. And they were serving Welsh rarebit. The fact that they were walking around middle of the afternoon in LA with Danny DeVito drinking cans of Wrexham lager and eating some Welsh rarebit is just, that won't ever get normal. I know people say, "Oh, that must be normal now. That must be normal now." No, It's not. Danny DeVito, if he came to the race course, that'd probably be the most starstruck I'd be. I love Always
Yeah,
Sunny. I love Danny DeVito. I love Frank.
love
So make it
Matilda.
happen.
But like I said, it's certainly got a place. I think it's revolutionary in terms of actual sports broadcasting. Like I said, imagine going out to town to watch, like I said, big boxing fight, UFC, or like Champions League final, stuff like that. You get such a good view. It makes you feel so much more immersed in it. You absolutely love this clip, don't you?
I can't stop playing the clip. Look at it again now. Let me pause it there. But this is what I'm saying. So, like, if I'm just showing you the clip. So, you're saying about Champions League final, whatever. Okay, maybe, like you say, a different experience. But, I mean, we're talking and all the comments, but League One put this out, right? League One put the second clip where we showed you the goal. And all the comments were like, what, this is ridiculous. This is embarrassing. This is the worst thing that's happened to modern football. And it's like, okay, they're halfway across the world and not at the race course. Why would you not want to enhance the experience of whatever it is, Champions League or Premier League or boxing or whatever? Surely you just want to feel like you're as close to the action as possible and watching it on what's the equivalent of essentially an IMAX. So I don't begrudge it. Cans of Wrexham lager, sofa, warm climate. Rob McElhenney's there. What's not to like? I don't know. I like it. Look at Danny DeVito there. I just can't get enough of looking at this Danny DeVito clip, honestly. Anyway, I'm going to stop playing that because I can't get enough of that. But yeah,
I can't wait till we get invoiced for every time we play that clip.
Yeah, I'm sure the Cosm guys liked it. But no, I think Cosm overall, few friends that made it over there, especially the LA one, just said, top class experience. And while it's probably, like you say, it's probably not something you do every single game, as a rare treat, it looks fun.
So, Nath, it was a rare weekend off for us Wrexham fans, like we said, watching the FA Cup unfold. What did you get up to? How did you enjoy your day away from the town?
Yeah, what did there was a point where, as you know, the Luke Young diehard in me thought, well, Luke Young's Cheltenham are playing away at Salford. Do I make it over there? Not that far from where I am right now. In the end, I decided I needed a football-free weekend. So I very much disconnected. A detox. So I just disconnected, went to the gym, went off the grid a little bit, and it was good. I mean, slightly disappointed when I saw the FA Cup draw. That again, that feeling of how are we not in this? How have we blown our chance in the FA Cup this season? But no, what about you, mate? I had a nice detox.
Yeah, so I had a very nice day again, similar, just away from all the football, didn't watch any of the matches on TV or anything. I just zoned out, which was refreshing. And then Saturday evening, I was asked on behalf of RobRyanRed to speak to Merched Kairas on one of their sort of monthly meetings, where it's a female supporters group for Wrexham Football Club. Hear about the great work they're doing, speak for an hour about the pod, the work we do, how we got into journalism, things like that, which was really fun. And we also recorded a little interview as well for this podcast, which we'll play in a moment. And this is a chat with Emma and Nick. And this is basically about the female supporters group, why it was set up, how to get involved, and the work they're doing. So yeah, this is Merched Kairas and RobRyanRed. So we're delighted to be joined by two members of Merched Kairas. First of all, we'll start with you, Nick. Welcome to the show. How did the group come about? What is the sort of ambition of the work you do?
So the group came about basically last summer. Decided I didn't have enough female friends that were Wrexham supporting. Kind of after joining Her Game 2, I kind of joined this community of like female football fans, and I was like, oh, I'm missing that from like a Wrexham perspective, I think. So just put a tweet out, and then 18 months later, kind of here we are. So yeah, started with our WhatsApp group, and then a couple of them were like, oh, should we do this a little bit more formally? And then so then we've just grown and had our first birthday in October. So yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster and ups and downs as with everything, I think. But ambitions are just to carry on what we do and just try and connect with as many female and non-binary Wrexham supporters as we can, basically, and help them join the community.
What was it like being a Wrexham match-going fan before the group was set up then? Did you, I mean, it's very difficult for myself and Nathan to put ourselves in your shoes. We're two white, privileged males. We don't understand at all. And I think lots of our listeners maybe won't understand. How difficult was it for you being a female football fan?
I think I'm at a more privileged position than maybe other female fans. I've always gone with my dad and my uncle. We've had a season ticket for 20 odd years. We've sat around the same group of season ticket holders. They're all men, but I think because I've basically grown up with all these guys around me, I've hopefully gone like their respect, and I have kind of good conversation with them every week. But then the more we have people join the group, and the more you hear about people not having that nice experience, even at the Kairas. And I think from my perspective, sometimes it's just a bit of like, oh, you'd be a bit nervous going away because you don't know as many people going away. I know some of the ladies in the group have never been to an away game purely because they just don't feel the confidence of going as like a solo female to football.
Yeah, like I said, I think I can relate to that because I go to every game with my mum. She's got a season ticket. She didn't do away games, don't really appeal to her, again, like you said, because she knows everyone we sit around, she feels safe there. I guess another aspect of it as well, Nick, before we get on to you, Emma, is the social media side of things. Because as you said, going to an actual match, I'm very glad to say that there's been instances, but most match-going fans I go to aren't these sort of trolls online who hide behind faceless accounts. But due to the nature of the climate we're in, I suppose that's another area, isn't it, that people who are high on social media can give out abuse without sort of having any consequence of it. And I guess a big part of your group is to be there to support each other and for it to be that safe space.
Absolutely. I think that's it. And I think a lot of people just find it so easy because you can just have a faceless account and say what you want without thinking there's like any consequences. I see it so often in our group. I see it so often with Her Game too, that people kind of say things and kind of go, well, it's just the internet, it doesn't matter. And would never ever say that kind of in someone's like face to face. So, we do see it in our group chat, and people do come to the group and just want a little bit of love and a bit of support and a bit of, like, we'll all go and report that tweet, kind of, not that it necessarily does anything, but that's literally just that bit of backup that they know there's somewhere they can just come and go, look at this that someone sent us, but yeah.
I'm guessing you're one of the people then who saw Nick's tweet originally on socials. How did you get involved, and why did you want to get involved with this?
I think it's the same story as Nick, even though maybe a little more isolating. I think when you're an international fan, and none of my friends here obviously really know who Wrexham are, let alone support football in general. And so I was just, kind of getting tired of watching it by myself and not really having many people to talk to. And I was just kind of perusing Twitter one day and saw her tweet, and I was just like, that's a really good idea. That would be kind of useful. And then, of course, like she said, like it's honestly grown into more than anything I think either of us or anyone else in the group could have imagined. It's just been such a huge support and blessing for all of us, honestly.
What does the group mean to you then? Like you said, you maybe felt a bit isolated as an international fan anyway. And how has it been for you that you've had this welcome bunch who have, ingratiated you into the Wrexham community?
Oh my gosh, it's been, life-changing, honestly. Built an entire community of women and even men from that group of women. It's just really important to me. And now I have this whole other, group of people and because we're all around the world, there's usually always somebody who's awake or around to chat if you need support privately in the group, whatever it is. And then it extends to even being able to have support when, if you're lucky enough, like I've been to travel over to Wales or to go to the friendlies in California. So I've just being able to meet and connect. I've just meeting people from across the world has been phenomenal. And it like Nick said, it makes you more confident to go. Whereas if I was just, and I know a lot of international fans do this where they go by themselves, maybe they don't really have friends. They go all the way over to Wales and don't know the ins and outs. Like, I don't know how they do that. That's so impressive. I was so lucky to have Nick and all our other friends in the group just kind of take me in and treat me like one of their own. And it's just been so fulfilling in so many ways.
I suppose while we're on the subject, then, Emma, I mean, are you a direct sort of Wrexham fan via the documentary then? I mean, how has it been for you? I guess you're twofold. You're one that you're a female fan anyway, but you might have some, not abuse per se, but comments your way because you are one of the newer fans. I find it interesting to speak to anyone who doesn't have a Wrexham accent, basically.
Yeah, I think for me it was a mix. My brother was kind of following them for a while, and he's into a lot of sports, and I was never really a sports person per se, but we follow it a lot. I'm from the Midwest. We have a lot of things. Soccer's big in Ohio where I live, so it wasn't like a foreign concept to me, but my brother told me to watch the documentary and I kind of was hooked off of that, but it wasn't enough information for me. Like I still wanted to know more about the story and the people and the community and the team and the club. And so it was just kind of spiraled from there, I think, but eventually it hit a cap without that community, and not having that community was when I was kind of hitting a wall with it. And that was just happened to be exactly the same like week I saw Nick's tweet. So yeah, and in terms of like the stuff that people say about new fans, I honestly, it hasn't been that bad. I feel like I've been pretty lucky. I don't give them any crap for it. Like I'm sure I'd be annoyed with some stuff, but at the same time, like I've heard good perspectives from like Nick and the other women in this group, and just people locally say like the benefits have definitely outweighed the negatives of it because of the support the community is kind of getting more of, and just the widespread word of Wrexham, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I've been pretty lucky, I think.
And Nick, for anyone listening who wants to get involved themselves or knows someone who might want to get involved in the group, what is the best way then for anyone to join Merched y Caerhras? How many members do you have now, and what is the best way for people to jump on board?
So I think we're at about 60 members now, which is fantastic. Grown from maybe about 50 end of last season, so we're kind of consistently growing. The best way is just to come to our social media or our website, Merched y Caerhras at... Go on, Emma, you're going to have to finish this.
At the website?
merchedcaerhras.com, yeah.
Yeah, it's
very,
just
very
.com.
simply.
Yeah, we have a join page and stuff that's very easy. It has all the information that you can need, and it kind of just, you can peruse the site and learn more about us and kind of what it looks like. We do lots of meetups and meetings and interviews and all types of things.
It's great.
So we've got like an informal WhatsApp group if you want to join that before committing to joining Merched y Caerhras completely. People are very, very welcome to join what we call our Dragon Sisters WhatsApp group. And then if you think, oh, I like this community, so we have a lot of people that join that and then they'll make the jump to join the group like officially and kind of get involved with, as Emma said, our meetings and what have you, with hopefully some exciting guests this season.
Right, thank you to everyone who always praises the opposition previews. You always get opposition podcasters, opposition fans, and everyone says, oh, they're really insightful, they're really great, they're really enthusiastic. I think we may actually have, though, sorry to say, a fan of the most miserable team in the entire Football League, who we play this weekend in Burton Albion, which will probably come back to bite me on the backside. Ed Walker, who is in this case, an aptly long-suffering Burton Albion fan, Ed.
Remembering the good old days, Nathan.
Nostalgia.
Trying to get around to those. I do feel quite down. Then I actually remember, to be fair, Swindon Town exists, so it could be worse.
There you go, Swindon Town under Ian Holloway.
We did think about that.
That circus. Come on then, Burton Albion. You do have a win on the board, which came against Shrewsbury, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
I mean, I shouldn't forget it. There's only one win on the board. You are the third lowest scorers in the league, and yet somehow I still feel like it's a bit of a bogey game for Wrexham.
I think we're slowly becoming the most frightening team in the league because people think we're a banana skin, even though it doesn't feel like, from our perspective, we're going to be anyone's banana skin. And I suppose we've not played you in a league game for a long time. I think we're going back to non-league days to both of us with this. So, and I think we have a unbeaten record with you from those league games. I'm right. There's obviously the trophy game from last year that comes to mind for most people's memories.
Yes, I'm meant to be basking in your misery to make me feel even more confident. You're sort of offering more to this. You're throwing a couple more bananas down here because we should say.
I'm going to try and find something, Nathan. I'm going to try.
I should say we are without goalkeeper, number one goalkeeper, number two goalkeeper. We are without captain James McLean. We are without midfield leader George Dobson. So we are down. I think the word around me. We're down a lot of leaders, but where's it gone wrong for Burton Albion? I know there's a lot of answers to that, but why has it gone
Well, can I
so
just say
badly wrong?
you saying no McLean is just lifting my mood a little bit. I
There you
can't
go.
lie.
There you go. No
That's
problem.
that's quite encouraging to hear.
Happy to help.
But
Mate.
no
Happy to help. But to bring you crashing back down to earth, where's it all gone horribly wrong so far?
We were so full of optimism before the season started because we'd just gone through a major change, most significant for nearly 30 years with a change of ownership. Ben Robinson, local businessman who's been at the helm since 1995, had done so much, transforming his team basically from a competitive six-tier outfit, peaking in a championship level, being an established Football League side for, I think we're in our 16th year now as a Football League side, potentially. Not as much as others, but we've done a lot in those 16 years all the same. He was approaching 80 years old. It was time to bring it to an end. He thought he wanted to move it on, and he started his successors in a group called NFG, the Nordic Football Group. This is a collection of people from all over the Nordic region, so Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Finland, all around. With a big, strong passion for football. A large group of them are coming as investors to provide some budget into the club, and some other people coming into the board itself in certain roles, a sporting director role, a chairman role, deputy chairman role, I think a commercial manager. So that all came in the summer. What followed was the biggest squad overhaul in British football history. We made 23 signings. Record.
Good.
If you remember Forest when they went up to the Premier League made a ton, we made more than them. So it's been busy. We were signing a lot, and naturally, I think what happens when you have something new is you want to carry a bit of buzz through it and excitement. With a head coach in Mark Robinson, who was an excellent developer of players, we'd plucked him away from a high-profile Chelsea under-21 to a region of the country. He'd basically been in London all his life and moved him out into the Midlands area. Just a bit of hope and optimism, and it took it's nosedived, really, simply. Not the worst opening month, although we didn't have a win on the board. It was a narrow defeat on opening day to Lincoln, then a set of draws, which I think left us kind of on 4 points from 5 games at sort of the September international break, which wasn't too bad. But the lack of wins just kept on coming, and the pressure started to grow. I think the killer for Mark Robinson was a 3-2 defeat to Wycombe at home, where we kept clawing it back level, and Wycombe would just keep scoring again and just pulling away. The defence was throwing apart everything that's being done up the other end, and Robinson was let go. And we're now, 6 weeks down the line, and we still don't know who the next manager is. Might know by the weekend, might have a clearer picture about what's coming. I can't say for certain. We've been kind of twiddling our thumbs now for well over a month, just wanting to find an answer. The interim manager, Tom Hounsell, very young guy, only 29 years old, was Mark Robinson's assistant. He's basically taken over for the interim period, however long that feels like a long interim period. He's actually not far off having as many games as Mark Robinson did. I think if he gets to Exeter in a couple of weeks from you guys, he actually has as many games as our original head coach did, which would be not the best thing to hear in the world. He's just too inexperienced, I think, for what we need now, for a player with experience, someone with real know-how and managerial pedigree, which he just hasn't got. He had an okay start to November, beating Scarborough Athletic, a 6-tier side, beating Shrewsbury, progressing in the EFL Trophy, which is okay. But the end of this month has just been absolutely turgid. Defeat to Stockport, defeat to Charlton, defeat to Tamworth in the FA Cup last weekend, which is, I said to the other guys, it's like you lot getting beat by Chester at home. It's that equivalent for us. It really was a low point at the time.
And then they went and got Tottenham.
And then they went and got Tottenham. Yeah, just to really rub it in.
Did you have to go and sort of sit in a dark room or something when that? Because that would really keep me up at night.
I'm just kind of glad it wasn't there and it was at home, because at least you could say, well, we haven't missed out on a trip to the Tottenham Stadium, which would have been quite fun, because we've not played Tottenham before. I guess we're going to have to wait a little bit longer now. I kind of hope that's pissed the players off, really, that they missed out on that.
You'd hope so, but I was actually chatting. I won't actually out them, because they did show me their predictions before the season began, of which Burton were 10th and Wrexham were 13th in their preseason predictions. A Wrexham fan, and I think to emphasise the point, that I think there was a bit of optimism, new ownership.
Yeah,
a lot of players, and I don't know all the players inside out, but I looked at people like Ben Whitfield, who we've seen before, Charlie Webster, very highly rated at Chelsea from what I gathered. Danilo Orsi was was useful in League Two. I think he probably exceeded expectations. Crocombe in goal. It's not a squad that you thought was going to be one of the worst in the entire EFL. And yet, has every signing just backfired? And you made 23. So, I mean, did you have any hits in that?
Yeah, there are hits. I think it's I guess it's a combination of massive squad churn and the fact we had 2 games in pre-season, which was partly due to the takeover. It wasn't a long pre-season like other clubs do. We only had 2 games against Port Vale and Morecambe in the back end of it, so there wasn't the full prep you'd naturally get with the season because of the amount of change. And some of these players don't really look ready to League One level yet. Some of them do. I think Danilo Orsi has generally been a hit. He's got 6 goals, but the thing with Orsi, as you guys will have seen last year, he's a quality finisher, but there's not much else to him to that. If you're going to play direct, try and lump it up to him as a target man, it's just not going to work. So it needs to be a case of playing to his strengths. Charlie Webster's been really good. I really like him. He's a great all-action midfielder. The issue for him is, what are we now from the game? About 10 days before this Wrexham game, he basically ran into Terry Taylor, retaliated to getting fouled by him, got himself sent off, and he's now missing. So he's going to miss this game, which is a real shame because he's a big influence for us in the middle, which is really annoying. We could have really done with him at this time being because he's only 20, looks a real bright spark. Probably our defence is the best category at the minute. Ryan Sweeney, who's the club captain, not the official captain on the pitch, that's Elliot Watt, but Ryan Sweeney at the back has just been a colossus. I think he scored in the racecourse game last year, do you remember him? Big centre-back, left-footed.
Right.
So he's going to be key again alongside Terence Van Cooten, Max Crocombe the same in goal. So I guess it's all just hoping that someone comes in that can kind of just recognise what's there, just get a distinct style of play. Because this season, I think, is a combination of maybe not finding the right signs that we wanted to and just generally poor standard of coaching again. They just don't seem to have a clear identity with attacking play.
I hate to ask it because we've been in this position before it got good for us. But are you just resigned at this point to going down, or is there a way that you somehow mastermind a win against Wrexham? It completely transforms your season. Charlie Webster comes back. Danilo Orsi turns into this all-action. I mean, I'm playing Burton fantasy here for you just to cheer you up, Ed, because I feel like I heard you earlier in the week. This has got to be a bit better, this chat, because you've got to try and lift your spirits a little bit.
Well, this is the thing, Nathan. You're chatting to me on the day that we go to Peterborough on the Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
None of us are looking forward to that. We're kind of thinking we can damage limitation because we're just expecting Peterborough to steamroll us because our first team basically played against Tamworth and got beaten in 120 minutes, so they're all knackered anyway. It's really not the best preparation for thought yourselves. I've no idea what the team's going to look like tonight, whether there are some changes. You'd imagine there would be. This all depends on them, basically, this long process of finding a manager, uncovering a gem, and there are gems out there. I just can't be certain if they actually find someone. I think you'd probably say we're into the high 90s with percentage of chance of relegation now because after Tuesday's results, we're now 10 points from safety. It was 8 before. So we've got to more than double our point stream and get out of the bottom 4 at the minute. I mean, we have done some kind of miraculous recovery before, 4 years ago, but that was actually not as big a recovery as this. So this would have to trump it now to do. So it's strange, really, that you're thinking whoever this manager is basically coming in knowing he's going to get relegation on his CV and have to essentially look at the League Two side because we basically need to be a playoff team between now and the end of the season to get out of this. It's not good.
No, that is not good. Actually, when you spell it out like that, that is bad. I'm worried.
If you say 50 points to the target, Nathan, then it's 42 more points needed from 30 games. That's 1.5 points a game.
Yeah, I'm resigning Burton to the. Sorry, Ed, I've condemned you now. But are you the quality of League One then? Just before we wrap it up, the quality of League One. How do you see it in terms of you've obviously been around sort of the Championship, League One longer than we have. We've just come into it, but where does this sort of quality of League One rank for you compared to previous years?
I think it's a good battle, really, up the top end. I'm really enjoying it. I think we all kind of looked at the start and thought Birmingham would run away with it, and I'm not so certain they are. Birmingham have that quality. I don't think they absolutely thrash teams, but they just kind of see them off. They seem to be like wins by 1 or 2 goals seems to be quite the regular thing. So I still think they might pick Wycombe to top spot, even though Wycombe is a really fantastic story. You guys being up there is great. Stockport being up there is great. You're making a really good account of yourselves as promoted sides. I think that top 6 spot is going to be really good. I just wish we were in it.
Yeah.
It's not that fun constantly watching them compete as outsiders, and maybe we find out who's in the bottom 4 with us, and maybe if we can please you a bit, maybe we'll try and drag Shrewsbury down with us.
Your fingers crossed. Well, look, ending on a high note then, if Burton are to do damage to Wrexham, who are middling away from home, it's been a bit up and down, obviously be very confident, very big favourites this weekend. Who are the player that maybe Wrexham fans don't know about that it could be one to watch, could be dangerous this weekend?
Well, I think you might be familiar with them because you've signed quite a lot from the league you've just come from, so you might be quite familiar. The annoying thing, I would say it was Charlie Webster, but he's not available. I'm pretty sure his suspension, that's the third and final game of it, so he's going to miss that, sadly. Udoka Godwin-Melithe, maybe? Right back. Good turn of pace from him, perhaps. Whitfield may or may not play, I'm not quite sure yet. Orsi will be one to keep an eye on, to potentially be picked out in decisions. Elliot Watts, the club captain, the guy tries to dictate everything through the middle. He's a bit of a split opinion within the fan base because some people don't like his lack of possession retention, whereas other people appreciate the passing range that he's got. So he divides a bit of opinion as well. It's generally just quite a side that probably the structure of real fluidity. Thomas Kalinowski, our left winger, does try to get at people occasionally one-on-one, but there's sometimes not always the level of quality delivery. We want to see Billy Bowden back to the storm he had at the start of the season, attacking midfielder. He started with 3 goals from his first 2 games, and after picking up an injury against Northampton at the end of August, he missed about a month, came back, and he's just not quite looked the same since. So if he came back to a level, that'd be a big difference maker too. I guess I'd maybe say Orsi or Godwin-Melithe, the two that you're familiar with, would probably be the two to me.
Well, look, if people want to, we're a nice bunch, Ed, seriously, but if they want to follow the plight of Burton Albion, can they? You've got your own podcast, I believe.
Does plight have to be the word? Can we
I
not do
feel like,
something else?
what else could we call it? I feel like I'm used to calling a spade, and at this point, maybe this would be all the fuel Burton Albion's players need to fire them up. This podcast in particular, to fire them up, that I've written them off and condemned them. But where can they listen to your podcast to keep track of what's going on with Burton Albion?
Yeah, we've newly launched the new season. What a year to start! Hey, how about that? Wish we'd done this earlier. I asked the other guys, and I presume at some point it does actually get quite good as an independent podcast. You do actually get to enjoy some wins. We had a winning week once, and it was lovely. And I wish I was still in that week just before the November break.
You need like The Rock and Tom Hanks to come together and just decide. I mean, if Fleur Robinson can convince them, she couldn't convince people that much at Wrexham, but if she can convince 2 Hollywood A-listers to buy Burton Albion, you never know, it might get good then.
We got some NHL stars on our books, so maybe there's something with that. Try and get those boys.
But your podcast launch, Brewers Babble, right? It'll be all the
Brewers Babble. Yeah, we record on Thursday evenings. We release on Saturday mornings. Something to take in before you head over to your game, wherever it is you're going. Whether that's home or away with us, we'll try to put a little positive spin on things in a minute. It really depends. I really hope Peterborough tonight is something a bit more positive than Tamworth, so we can just at least have a little bit of something to look forward to. Because we've got yourselves, and then we're off hosting Stevenage in the EFL Trophy next round after that. So. And then it's a pretty hectic December where we've got to include away games against Birmingham and Huddersfield back-to-back. So December's not the nicest looking month coming up.
Well, look, Wrexham fans going to the Pro Stadium, go and listen to Brewers Babble on your way. Ed, thank you very much. And I say all the best for the rest of, hopefully, if it all hell goes wrong, at least you can take Shrewsbury with you.
Burton on Saturday, Crew in still the Papa John's Trophy to me on Tuesday. What changes are you making? Obviously, 2 suspensions, McLean and Dobson, both out of the Burton clash. Like we said, Burton is out of the Burton clash as well with injury. What are you changing?
So, I would say, for a while I was debating whether I would put Dan Scarr back in, but I just don't think you can change that back 3. It's just been too consistent, performing at too high a level. So you're putting Howard in goal, the back 3, it'll be Barney again. You'll put Seb Revan in, I would think, over Jacob Mendy. I think that's the natural sort of pecking order. You put Revan in. He's been waiting for his chance. Last time out against Harrogate in the FA Cup, I think, from a start anyway. So he'll play, and then I would go again with Matty James. A lot to ask, but he's got to be building up to fitness. He looks pretty mobile, and he wants to play as many games as he can. So I'd play Matty James again. I would play Ollie Rathbone, and I would probably drop Elliot Lee back, and I would go Mullin and Palmer. So I haven't worked out how many changes. Who's that? Revan, Howard, and Mullin. So 3 changes. All right?
Yeah. So your midfield is James, Lee, and Rathbone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense to me as well. I mean, I guess the quirk is there at fullback all of a sudden, again, wing back. You do look quite light, don't you? Like Revan, I have utmost faith to come in and do a job, but you speak about he'll then have to play, you'd think, on the Tuesday. That would typically be a sort of game. There might be some options
on the Tuesday?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot what I meant.
Mendy,
We
I suppose
sponsored him.
you got Bolton. We don't sponsor him anyway. You forgot all about him. And I suppose remember you've got Ford as well for that Virtue Trophy. So he's probably the only competition he's allowed to play in. So probably comes at a good time, that game. But again, we've gone fairly strong in the Virtue Trophy, I would say. I mean, that's good depth, but you'll pretty much, I would imagine, have to go a lot weaker than normal, I would have thought.
Yeah, that's the quirk, isn't it, really? That we're now that the chances of increasing the competition have gone up, our squad's getting weaker just because it's that time of year. We've got some injuries to deal with, and I think we've mentioned, haven't we, that you'd have Fal, Scar, Mendy, Ford, Bolton, give them all a go. Depending
but then the
on
argument is like,
what to do at Mullen, though, because if he doesn't score this weekend, do you then put him in against Crewe?
Then there's things about
Crewe?
in terms of building up a rhythm. Some players like to stay in a rhythm. McLean likes to be in a rhythm. Dobson likes to be in a rhythm. They obviously can't play on Saturday. So do you play them again on Tuesday? It'd be their first game in a week then. Do you play McLean? Yeah. Do you play Dobson and just give them an hour and then take them off? You don't necessarily have to resort to the young lads, who are doing very well, by the way. The young lads have been smashing teams all over the place in the under-18s. And I'm yet to see if Yassine Toure has been able to play for the under-18s yet, but he's obviously training with the club still. But yeah, Mullen's a curious one, isn't it? Because you feel like you've got to play Fal. If you don't play Fal against Crewe, I mean, can we ask for a refund? Have one of us got the receipt, maybe? And Bodvarsson, you think to play? It's very, very curious because you've got to be careful now that you don't just run key players into the ground. But yeah, with Dobson and McLean being banned, I think there's still people like Mendy that want minutes. There's still people like Will Boyle. Still people like Harry Ashfield that deserve chances. Aaron James. So we have got bodies. It's just that conundrum in attack. What do you do up there? Do you play Mullen twice? I wouldn't have thought so. But if he doesn't score at Burton, then what do you do? So I'm glad I don't get paid to make these decisions, and I just get to comment on them and try and look like a smart ass when they don't work and when mine do.
Yeah, well, the bad news, I suppose, for Wrexham is that they are still dog shit. They still will be this weekend when they play Burton. They still will be when they play Crewe. They still will be for the rest of the season. But they're still, because of this documentary, second in the league. Won again against Barnsley. Will they win again in the next two matches? We will see, and we will let you know how it all gets on next week's show. Nath, thank you as always. RobRyanRed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Red 10 People Development for your continued support of the podcast. And thank you very much to Wrexham-based band Hypnotic for the music, the stings we use. If you want to get in touch, RobRyanRed on all the socials, RobRyanRed@gmail.com, or you can go to our website and use the Contact Us page. Thank you very much. Take care, and we'll see you again next time.
The Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Faye.